Alright, so this is of course the spoiler discussion for Kubo and the Two Strings. If you do not want any spoilers, then check the link in the description. It'll take you to my spoiler-free review. So that is your official warning for this. This is full spoilers. And just to go right into it, this really doesn't even count as spoilers. It's kind of just hyping up the movie again. But man, the visuals were phenomenal. Like, I just loved the visuals that they had in this movie. It was a really great blend of stop motion and CG, and I love what they did with it. I think one of my favorite scenes, and it was like when it really stood out, was during the dream sequence when Kubo was dreaming and he was with his grandfather. That part where they had the water and it was like origami water. I loved that scene. It was like a quick scene, and I kind of wish, I admittedly, like in the opening of the movie, I was like, I kind of wish the water looked like all origami, but it looked really cool. I was like, that looks really sweet. I just love the way they did that, and the way everything, all the origami stuff would fold, or as they made a really funny joke, it's a subtle joke, but I thought it was really funny. When Kubo made the little Hanzo and Monkey was there, it's like, that can't be origami. Like, I swear scissors were involved. I thought that was a funny joke, but origami or otherwise, when they were making all the paper figures, how they moved and everything like that, I thought it looked great. Like, all the visuals looked really, really cool. And a part of that kind of played into the story itself, especially, you know, with some of the earlier elements, and how like Kubo's mother, when she like splits the giant wave and stuff like that, and it just plays into certain little elements, and it's, you know, the inspiration and the, you know, that Japanese culture, you know, and inspiration really goes into this world, and they really bring it to life, and some CG elements and stuff like that, and I like that. I thought it was really cool. Like, the one scene that I noticed that looked a little weird was actually at the end of the movie when Kubo is fighting his grandfather, and his grandfather's like the dragon thing. That was like the one thing I didn't really like, because I could tell, at least this is how it looked. I could be wrong, and it was just that they zoomed in and made the creature really big. But it seemed like what they did was they had a figure of Kubo standing still, and they put it in front of a screen, and they played the visual of the grandfather. It could have just been that it was so zoomed in, because I did notice during certain scenes you could see the little bit of, you know, like the lines in the characters' faces moving, because they have like different faces and stuff. So or like the actual characters, the models have different faces for animations. But I thought it was really cool. I love the visuals, and you know, right off the top, it just looked really great. And then also right off the top, it got super serious, and I was so surprised. And going through, the first thing that shocked me, and this wasn't really the emotional stuff, but I was surprised that there was, it wasn't really a lot, but there were like two scenes, I think, in the whole movie where there was actually like blood. And one was in the very beginning, after the tidal wave, when Kubo's mom hits the rock, and like they show a little bit, and I think that was like CG, but they show like blood come off her face. I was like, holy crap, that got a little dark, you know, really early on. I was like, I didn't think there would, you know, be blood in this, and there's pretty much not. But it was like that moment, and there was another moment where it's like you kind of like see a splatter of blood, like for like a split second, and I wish I could remember what scene that was in. But those are like the two scenes I remember. Like, holy crap, they went just a little bit, they snuck it in there, like that tiny bit of blood, and I was like, that's actually kind of cool. It didn't get as dark as I thought, because, you know, that was like the opening scenes. I was like, oh, there's gonna be like blood in this, so that didn't actually end up happening. But there were two scenes where they did, and I was like, huh, that's pretty interesting. And then, of course, the emotion in general was just phenomenal. Like, the scene, you know, just in general, early on with Kubo and his mother, it was like just really serious, and it's like, man, this can connect to so many people who are dealing with people that have mental instabilities. You know, you might be bipolar or just anything. Excuse me. And sometimes you're there, and sometimes you're not. And I love that element. It was very sad, but it was kind of amazing to watch. And I think the one moment, you know, out of all the stuff really early on that got me, it was really when Kubo's mother was dreaming, and Kubo woke up because all the papers were flying, and he's like, hey, you know, you were dreaming. And her first question was, what happened to your eye? And that, for some reason, that like just really hit me, compared to her forgetting stuff like, I don't know, a long time ago. This is like every day she sees her son, and she's never had, you know, two eyes. You know, that's the craziest part about it, is that there was never like, oh, she's remembering this time where he had both eyes or something. Like, she's just thinking, oh, it's my son. Oh, what happened to your eye? Like, why are you hurt? And it was just really crazy. I was like, man, that one, for some reason, like, out of all the sad stuff they showed early on, that one just really got me. I was like, that was the moment that, like, really got me, more than anything else. But the other moments, it was like, this is insanely emotional. But really loved that. I like the reveal as they went on through the movie that Monkey was actually Kubo's mother. I didn't see that coming, personally speaking, because it just made sense. Like, oh, well, his mom died, and she brought this monkey to life, and it made perfect sense because I wouldn't have thought, oh, she transferred her spirit into the monkey, because the whole thing is like, oh, keep the monkey with you. I'm like, yeah, she made a motherly figure, but I just assumed it was actually meant to be this magical creature, and she brought it to life. Like, that's, it just made perfect sense. And then when they revealed it was actually his mother, and she literally transferred herself, I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought that was interesting. And you know, like, it's interesting that she changes so much, but we kind of get an explanation for that later on, because Monkey, when she first starts off as just Monkey, she's like hardcore, like she doesn't give a crap about anything, like when she does the 3 question stuff. But as it goes on and we find out that the magic is actually fading, and that's why she didn't say, you know, I'm actually your mother, I just kind of transferred my consciousness, is because she knew she'd be gone fairly soon, and it's like, I have to be tough on him, and you know, I can't be the same mother that I was. And plus she was a lot more lucid, so she knew, like, alright, you know, it's effed up now. It's not like, oh, make sure you don't go out after dark and stuff like that. It's like, it's already effed up and it happened. So I liked that, and it made sense as it, you know, got explained later in the movie. The reveal of Hanzo I thought was very interesting. I was very surprised by that as well. I just assumed, like, kind of as they told the story, he got killed, and that was the whole thing. Even Kubo's mother thought that he'd actually died, but I guess they captured him and then cursed him and, you know, erased his memory. So it was really cool. Like, I love that reveal. The fact that they both died was insane to me. I couldn't believe that that's how that happened. Like, that was the thing that this movie did that kind of blew me away. Like, this does not have really a happy ending. It's like, it's a very, very bittersweet ending, and it's like, I almost don't know if it's even bittersweet, because it's like, I know he technically has family now because he, you know, kind of changed his grandfather and he lost his memories. But it's like, man, I don't know if I still even count that as bittersweet, but I love the way that they did it. And, yeah, I was very surprised by it. And that was really, if there's anything that was really a problem with me, was the fact that they had the reveal of Hanzo and then he died. Like, even if they did the reveal, you know, the way they did it, I was like, okay, you know, I was surprised by it, and it was simple. You know, the sister comes in, she says this and that, and that's kind of what the sisters did through the movie. But, you know, they had the reveal, and it's like, okay, this whole thing I thought was leading up to the mother was dying, and then Kubo would be with his father, and that would kind of be how things went. But he saved them. Beetle, he ended up saving them, and then he got stabbed in the back and he, like, died right in that scene. I was like, oh crap, that, it just happened. And I was like, man, I didn't see that coming. It was so fast. And I also thought, you know, he got stabbed in the back. I thought he, like, passed out, because, you know, typical movie stuff, people get blown up and they just pass out. So when it first happened, I was like, oh, he's not dead, he's just really wounded. And it's like, nope, they kind of went to the next scene, and, you know, Kubo, he actually doesn't even end up saving his mother because she gets killed. Like, the little monkey idol is split in half, and he kills the second sister. And it was just like, man, they're both actually just gone now. And that was, like, the craziest thing, and it was crazy. It seemed like a little too fast. That was, like, the one thing to me. It was like, oh, they killed him off like a minute. It was almost like a minute after the reveal, and you kind of don't really get a lot of that time. And, you know, he says something like, you know, you are my quest and stuff like that. And that, you know, I thought it was cool that he said that, but at the same time I was like, is that him remembering, or is he just saying that? I couldn't really tell. But either way, it was like a nice final moment, and he saved him. But then it was like, it ended up being the final moment. I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming, which is also a realistic thing, though, because, you know, anything you watch is like, oh, the heroes are talking over here for 15 minutes, and the villain is just finally like, hey, what are we doing? It was like, nope, she took advantage of the time that she had, and she stabbed him in the back and killed him. And so he dies, and then Monkey dies as well. So it was a very surprising ending that I really wasn't expecting. And also the way that it ended, it was, you know, it was kind of an epic battle, not really, but him using kind of the spirit and the love of the people, I thought was really cool. You know, I really enjoyed that. I do wish that we got a bit more of a fight, and I will say, honestly, despite the cool action and the ending fight, it's fairly minor as far as I'm concerned, especially compared to the one before that where Beetle and Monkey die, as well as the first fight scene on the boat, which might actually be my favorite because they're jumping all over the place on that thing and the boat's falling apart too. But before they have that fight and Kubo is talking with his grandfather, I was like, man, this is a great freaking speech from the grandfather. Like how mad he was getting, and he was like, he was that calm evil, and I kind of like that sometimes. And he came in, and it was just like he's sounding like this and that, and I was like, this speech is actually pretty freaking sweet. Even though he's the villain, and he's kind of saying his piece, like this is why I needed to take your other eye, and he's trying to reason why he would kill his own daughter and son-in-law as well as steal both the eyes of his grandson. And it was just like, man, this speech is actually really great. And he's talking about, and I mentioned this kind of in my spoiler-free review, where they're like these gods and they've done other really crazy things, because the sister mentions that as well. I think in the very first fight when she's fighting Monkey, it's like, I've defeated creatures that could hold this planet on their fingernail and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, that is very interesting. Let's, you throw that in there and it just, it leaves you with so many questions, and it's like, man, I love this movie so much. I'd love to just see those random stories, even though they wouldn't even remotely be the same, because they're like fighting giant, crazy interdimensional things, I guess. But that ending speech that the grandfather gave, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I just like the way it was delivered. I like the lines and how he's trying to tell Kubo how he's wrong. Like, oh, I did this so that you wouldn't have to live down here in the filth and the lies and the hate and the death and all this stuff. And I was like, I kind of like this. And it's just his twisted reasoning for why it needs to be this way. And we get the story for Monkey when she mentions, like, this is how I actually met your father. They just killed heroes, basically. Like, they were just horrible creatures, that were like gods with magical powers, and they just came to Earth like, okay, this guy's pretty strong, let's cut that crap out, because they could get stuff that can actually defeat us. Because and this was probably super obvious, but all the armor and stuff was the sun, and of course the villain was the moon. So I thought that was cool. It was like, the helmet and the breastplate and stuff, it all had like the symbol of the sun on it, and I thought that was pretty sweet. And I like the way everything worked out, and we find out that the helmet is actually in the village from the beginning of the film. It's like, oh. And even the grandfather mentions, like, oh, I guess there was a reason for her keeping you here, all this time. I guess she had an actual good reason. And it was because he'd at least be close to a piece, of what he needed to defeat his grandfather in case anything happened. Boom, it's right there. So I thought that was really cool. Like I said, the emotion, though, was just a surprising amount. And that's what really got me. I was like, man, I was expecting, like, a cool action comedy, just a journey sort of film where this child has to, face adversities. And this is like some harsh living type stuff. Even before the grand journey, he just has a harsh effing life where his mom is like, she's just not lucid until it's nighttime and stuff. And it's just really crazy. But I really loved this film. I thought it was really good. I like the action sequences. Like I said, the first one on the boat was really awesome. Love the sisters in general. I thought they were really awesome. They don't, and that's the thing, that's the one thing. The villains are really cool, but, like, they don't do much, but they're super freaking awesome to me, because, like I mentioned in my spoiler-free review, when the sisters come in, it just changes into a straight-up horror movie, especially the first time when they show up, and it's nighttime, and I love the way they did that, because, and that was one of the things that was easy to guess. Like, there were, like, that was like the one moment in the whole movie where I was like, oh, that's what's going to lead to this, and that's how the whole thing gets started. But when the older woman mentioned to Kubo, like, hey, this is what people do, where they talk to their loved ones, I was like, this is exactly how things are going to get started. And, of course, that's how it happened. But I felt that was the only super obvious thing. Like I said, for me personally, at least, the reveals didn't, I didn't really know about. I didn't see it coming personally, at least. But, man, when they did that scene and he's, trying to get in contact with his father and stuff, and he sees all the lanterns and stuff, and I thought he'd still make it back. Honestly, it seemed like the sun started to set super fast just to kind of get things going. Like, all right, let's get to some horror stuff. And then when the sun set and his mom like instantly woke up, I thought that looked cool too. And she was just like, she snapped out of it because they're like moon people in a sense, so that's where her power is. But man, when that happened and all the lanterns like shut out and he just looked across the water and then just in unison they say Kubo, I was like, that is super creepy. And they're dressed in all black. They're kind of like I think they're dressed in black to kind of symbolize like crows or ravens. And I thought that just looked great. And they have, the creepy masks and stuff. And we do actually see their face. I thought that was going to be a crazy reveal where they'd have like distorted faces. But I guess that wouldn't make sense because his mother looked like a normal person. So, why wouldn't they? Unless they got into a fight, I guess. But I thought it was great. I was like, man, they came in and it just got super creepy. And they like don't step on the ground. I think they might step on the ground, but I feel like the whole time they're on screen, they're floating. Like I think maybe in the final fight with with the second sister, I think she was stepping on the ground a little bit, but for the most part, it's like we're just gonna float and look real creepy and talk in unison, and then when they split up and like go basically in two opposite directions, that's how they get into. Basically, that's how they end up losing. I would have loved to have seen that early on, an actual fight with both the sisters. And that was another one of the things, just at least from the action side, I was like, oh, it kind of sucks that we didn't get to see like an early action scene, like maybe where they couldn't defeat them, but they escaped, and that forced the sisters to split up. Like, oh, well, we can't take the chance now. Like maybe if it happened, like after they got the blade or something, like they fought both sisters, but because they were like on the water, if they both were there on the water, it could have just worked out really weird. Like the storm kind of affected them, and maybe Monkey could have taken on one of them, and then the other was kind of just affected by the elements, or maybe with Beetle. So that was like the one thing I wished as far as all the action. I was like, man, I would have loved to have seen them fight at the same time. But after that first scene, when they deal with the mother, they pretty much just split right up because they don't, deal with them together anymore. And it's like, oh, well, we kind of lost them. They fly, they fly up and then split up. And I was like, oh, all the fight scenes is just one, and then the other. It's like, that kind of sucks. I would love to have seen both of them fight. And I do love the fact that they kind of made it where they had different fighting styles. Because the first sister, um, they're called like Karaz, I believe. So it was really cool seeing her use that weapon, and she's spinning the blade around and all that, and then the other side had like a claw on it. And then the second sister, when they had the big fight scene, she was using like two katanas, or smaller blades, I can't think of, Kurosawa's, I believe. Um, and it was just really cool. And I was like, that's cool. I like that they have different styles and stuff, so it's not the same fight. But it was really sweet. Like, I love the action in it. Like, of course, the emotion was just very surprising. But I love the way they did the visuals, and the characters were all freaking sweet. And admittedly, it is a simple story, but I don't know, for some reason it worked. For me, at least, I was just like, I love this. And maybe that's why the pacing felt so good to me, because it's kind of just like, here we go. And that's pretty much it. It was a journey. It was like, there was go here, and go here, and that's pretty much how it happened. And then we had like the little sidetrack when Kubo was tricked by his grandfather. So I thought that was cool, and even that led to some cool stuff because we actually get to see the house and it's destroyed, and we see the pictures and everything. I was like, that's actually very cool, and I just thought that was nice, and just ultimately the way it ended and stuff, and you see all the spirits and actually see Kubo's mother and father next to him and stuff. I was like, this is just really good. Like, it was a great movie. Love the ending song, which I believe is called "My Guitar Gently Weeps." That's a great song. It's like 5 minutes long, and I was totally fine with that. I stayed through the whole credits listening to that song, and then, man, when they showed, because I didn't realize this before going into the movie, at least I forgot. But these are the same people that did both Coraline as well as Paranorman. And I recently reviewed Coraline because I love the crap out of that movie. I just saw that this year, and I was like, man, I normally don't review movies if they're even like a couple of months old. If I miss it in theaters, I normally don't review it. But I was like, man, I kind of just love this movie. I want to just talk about it. So they kind of kept it going. Like, that movie I loved, and chose to do a review. Like, I think they came out in 2009, so I'm fairly late to say the least. And then they kind of did it again with this at the end where they showed the giant skull creature. I had no idea that thing was so big. I thought it was just a camera trick, like, oh, let's, point up and maybe like smaller figures or something. And it was crazy. I was like, wow, I didn't think it was actually that giant. And that really surprised me, and I loved that. I stayed through a lot of the normal credits as well, since it was like the scroll and the arts and stuff, but I did end up leaving, so Maybe I'll stay the whole time when I see it again, and I probably will, because I mentioned to my girlfriend, she mentioned that she actually was interested in seeing, because I went without her, because I was like, oh, she doesn't care. Which she really didn't, because she totally forgot it even existed. So, you know, I'll probably just see it again with her, and I might stay. She probably won't want to, so I'll have to figure that out. But really love this movie. It was a really fun time. I'm definitely buying it on Blu-ray when it comes out. I actually want to see this in 3D, because I saw it standard, and I feel like with the way they did the visuals, just as they are. And I think more than anything, like, of course, CG films are kind of the perfect films for 3D. Like normal films, like, you know, you go see like an Avengers or whatever. It's like, yeah, that looks cool, but 3D movies in 3D are actually the best. And then stop motion, probably even better than that, because it's actually there. And it's like they don't have to visually make it look 3D. It truly is 3D. Like, this person is here and this item is literally in the background. So it's like the perfect blend of a live action film with the elements of, you know, a CG, you know, animated movie like a Toy Story 3 or something. And of course it has its, you know, CG elements in there, but I think these are like the perfect films to actually see in 3D. So I kind of want to see it. Normally it's like no big deal, but I think this movie kind of is better. I would assume, you know, I'm just guessing, but I think this could actually be appreciated even more so in 3D because of even the origami, because it's just, even that itself is like so three-dimensional. It's like I can only imagine actually seeing that in 3D, and it's like, man, I think this movie might get even better the next time. So looking forward to seeing it again. Of course, would love to know everything you guys think about this movie, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And with this coming from the producers of Coraline and Paranorman, I would love to know what you guys think about it and how it stacks up to those films. I say this is my favorite. I haven't seen Paranorman, but I did love Coraline. Like I said, I saw it super late, and I was like, I actually liked it so much, I'll actually do one, a review. But would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.